Okay, fashion ministry marketplace. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. See if I can invite some people on. Shirley Treese, what's going on, sis? How are you? In for a treat tonight. Hopefully you can stay on all night. Not gonna be long.
What's happening?
Working. Let's go. Okay.
Whoa, yeah, yeah,
How you
yeah.
doing, sir?
What's good?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing
Good,
good.
good, good.
It's always kind of funny because I'll be talking to everybody through audio, but
Uh-huh.
then when they like actually see y'all, I'm like, all right, cool. So so you're not a real person, just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am a real person. For sure, for
well,
sure.
let's get it, everybody. This is my name is Jeremiah Chase. For ones who don't know me, I'm the founder and CEO of ministry called Fashion Ministry Marketplace. This is our second week in on this Fashion Genesis series, and I'm so excited. If you're not familiar with the word Genesis, Genesis means the beginning. So I've been going live with different designers, stylists, and artists, and asking them, what's your beginning? And I'm so glad to meet this brother. You know, no, I didn't know him prior. I inboxed Jack randomly, and he was just like, "Call me." Yeah, we got on the phone and we started rapping. And this was maybe maybe like a month ago.
Yeah.
Um, and it was so like the conversation was so dope. It was so healthy. But Jack, I just want you to just take some time and just introduce yourself to the people.
What is? I'm sorry.
You good? Go ahead. You good?
So anyhow, my name is Jack Manson, and let's see. The genesis for me kind of starts with my grandmother,
Mm,
who was an artist, Georgia C.
okay.
B. Powell. And she kind of like introduced me to the world of art. Well, she
Mhm.
introduced all of my cousins and us all to the world of art. So from that, we painted, we did claymation, we did short films, all kinds of stuff because she was a teacher herself. So that was the beginning of those mediums and stuff. But I always kind of loved clothes. So it was one of those things where I just like fell into the love of clothes simply because it was um, like I'm almost 60 years old, and like at the time back then, my parents weren't rich or anything like that, but there weren't a lot of brands, and we didn't know anything about Louis Vuitton or Gucci or anything like that, what have you.
Mhm.
So we just she was just trying to buy clothes that either fit me or that I was going to grow into.
Yeah.
So they were either going to be like too big or they were just like too
Right.
small, right? And when they were too small, your friends sort of make fun of you. You know what I'm saying? Like your classmates and all kinds of stuff. They be making fun of you because your clothes is high waters, or they're too tight, or they just don't fit right. So you got all those little issues and things. So my mom had a seamstress, named Miss B, who she used to take her clothes over to, and then I would just like so like throw clothes in the bag there and ask her to try to like, extend the legs or extend the sleeves and that kind of stuff, what have you. And that eventually led to, me sort of like really loving and understanding clothes. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like my beginning.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, like so so we talked. So you're in LA,
Yes.
and but you're not from LA.
No,
Right,
no,
right,
no,
right.
no, no,
So
no.
I definitely want you to get into like what that transition after you tell them like, where you from and what life was like, because I know it's too different. It's,
Yeah,
like from East Coast to West Coast,
yeah,
like
yeah. No, no
what
doubt.
that transition was like.
Um, so, I just told you about my grandmother who was an artist. My grandfather was a podiatrist. Uh,
Okay.
so, um, like every other kid in my neighborhood growing up in DC, I wanted to play basketball. And when that so much didn't work out, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Right.
Mm.
So I was pretty good in the sciences and everything. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a doctor. So I kind of like pursued the avenue of medicine. And when I got to Howard, uh, they basically had this program called a physician assistant program. So I went into that. And I wound up like practicing medicine for like years. Um,
Wow.
and I still do from time to time.
Okay.
But it was just one of those things where I did it and then I got sort of disenchanted with it. You know what I mean? So then I was
Yeah.
like, well, you know what? I'm gonna do sports medicine. Maybe that'll be, my little saving grace, what have you. Since I played sports and everything, what have you, I can go into sports
It makes
medicine.
sense.
Boom, right? So I did, and I wound up going to grad school, getting a master's degree in exercise physiology, and then wound up working as a trainer and a head strength and conditioning coach for the New Orleans Hornets and everything, what have you. So that was cool. And then when I got fired, I was still trying to figure it out. And in professional sports, they fire everybody. Everybody gets fired. So I mean, it's just life, you know what I'm saying? Once I left there, I started working the AAU and that kind of stuff and everything. And then I got a call from a friend of mine. I hadn't talked to him a very long time, what have you. And they basically said, hey, Jimmy Fox is in town. Can you, train him, what have you? So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I wound up
Train.
training. Yeah, so I was his trainer for Django. So I trained him for Django,
Wow.
and we got real close. We became good friends, what have you. And then I started traveling with him, and he used to always kind of be like, "Man, I like the way you dress, and I like how you put that together. Can you help me?" But he had a stylist, so I wasn't trying to step on nobody's toes or anything like that,
Right.
what have you. And then he just asked me one day. He said, "Hey, like, can you be my stylist?" And one thing led to another. I had to kind of figure it out. I didn't know anything about it, but I know I always loved clothes, and I just started doing it. So
Yeah.
that's how it kind of came about. And initially it was just like, okay, well, can you dress me for a red carpet event? And then it was like, oh, well, can you dress me for Jimmy Fallon? And then
Mhm.
was, you know, we got a movie coming up. You know, can you learn how to dress for that? So I basically kind of had to try to learn styling, design, and costuming. So that's kind of what I do, and they're all different.
Right, right. So, question I want to ask you too, because I want you to break down styling, costuming,
And designing.
designing. I want you to break down like that difference. But I also want to ask, you said that you was training,
Yeah,
Jamie, like
yeah,
training them because you said you trained it for Django. So
yeah,
what exactly do you mean by that training?
yeah. Like physical training, like getting his body and everything ready for the role.
Oh wow, yeah, because you was doing the strengthening and
Condition and
conditioning.
conditioning. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So that's how we initially met. Was I was his trainer,
Yeah.
um, and I trained him for Django, trained him for White House Down, trained him for the Spider-Man 2, the very first Spider-Man 2 series where he was Electro in there, um, and trained him for I don't know. Oh, and Annie, yeah, and Annie. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was his trainer for all of those, and then like in between all of that,
Hmm.
that's what I
That's
I,
what's up,
I,
yo.
I sort of like transitioned into the clothing stuff. And it became a lot because I was doing both at the same time. Like I was I
Okay.
was I was training him and being his stylist, what have you.
Mhm.
And I just had to be transparent with him and want to go to him one day. And I was getting, I'm getting older. I was like, man, like I can't, like this is tough, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
So I opted for the styling, and that's
Hmm.
how it came about.
Yo, that's dope because dang, strengthening you like you studied medicine for years.
Yeah.
Strengthening, yo, can we just like get this black man? Like, no, like real rap, this is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, I don't hear stories like this all the time, but but when I do, I always like appreciate it because it's like, dang, like it's crazy how like God would have us doing one thing and
Right.
then it's just like, yo, and it's like, well, you wasn't doing that for no reason. Because if it wasn't for you studying science or studying medicine, you know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. And she's like, yo, look, well, this science boy, you know what I mean? He got a good dress game. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, let's get it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yo, I
Yeah.
think people think about science and medicine, they probably think about, just the typical nerd and all that stuff like
Yeah.
that. But no, that wasn't Mr. Manson though.
No, 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 no. You want to make sure that when you go in, I can go back and tell you stories, man. Working in conservative hospitals, what have
Hmm.
you, and everybody wants you to wear a shirt and tie and everything, what have you.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't, I wasn't into the whole tie thing, what have you. So I'd come in with like turtleneck, a sweater, what have you. And they
Uh-huh.
called me into the office one day, right? And I have been like training like different interns and students and what have you. Like medicine is medicine, so whatever portion of it that you know and understand, they want you to share with the medical students and that kind of thing. So I've been training all of these, young doctors, what have you, white, black, Latino, Asian, everything, what have you.
Right.
And some of them, like they just like some of them would get a pair of khakis. They have, and I understand the financial thing, what have you, but they'd have a pair of khakis, but like they wear them khakis into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Or they'd have like a little polo shirt, what have you, and they'd be wearing it, wouldn't even get it, wouldn't even iron it or anything like that. But then they would like put a tie on and everything. So they called me into the office, what have you. And I'm like, yo, like, where in your policy says that I have to wear a tie? They were like, well, it's an unwritten rule and this, that, and the other. I said, well, no. Like, you got medical students coming up here and they smell, man. Like for real. Just because they got a tie on don't make them like appropriate
Right.
or what have you. Like some of them, like they ain't bathed or ain't did nothing, or come up in here with their clothes wrinkled and what have you. You just gonna define them by a tie? Well, get out of here, bro.
Walking there butt naked, but he got a tie
Yeah,
on. What?
yeah. So it became one of the things where it's like, oh, Jack's not gonna wear what everybody else is gonna wear, kind of thing. You
Yeah,
know. So I've always kind of stood out in that way where it's just like, you just got to be comfortable in your skin and what your clothes and what you wear and how you wear them and everything else.
yeah, Yo, like, look, like that's crazy. So like, all right, what are some, like, all right, let me see. So, for example, styling somebody like Jamie, have you ever was like nervous about what you put him in? Because at this
Oh,
point he's like trusting you. You know what I'm saying? But something you
yeah.
wanted to try, it was like, all right, let me. I wonder if he gonna like it.
Well, like everybody has their likes and their don't likes,
Hmm.
right? And you got to kind of find that out. Um, like when you're early in styling, like sometimes you just kind of go in with your ideas and you're like, oh, I want to put this on you, I want to put that on you, da da da. That's gonna make you look fly. But you got to take into consideration the person's personality as well,
Yeah.
right? Or again, what they like and what they don't like. So you might get somebody who don't like red. You know what I'm saying? Out here in California, well, you might run up on them, be like Snoop, right? And
Yeah.
I've worked with Snoop not as a stylist, what have you, but I know from talking to a stylist, what have you,
Hmm.
don't bring nothing red over there,
Right.
right? He
Right.
don't like he don't like red, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with like Jason Momoa. He don't like blue, right?
Hmm.
So he likes purple. So like, you got to kind of know those things, right? So in
Yeah.
styling celebrities, what have you, got to ask those questions. It's like, do you like wearing a tie? And be like, man, I've never wear a tie. I'll never wear that, what have you. But they may have to go to something formal. So you got to figure out, like, okay, how am I going to get you to come up here and wear something that's fly, that you're going to
Hmm.
be proud of when they take pictures of you on the red carpet versus, like I said, just kind of come up there with your own little ideas and that kind of stuff, what have you.
Yeah.
So, there's an understanding that you gotta have when you're styling these guys as well, what have you, right? But then, again, sometimes they can be very vague. They just want to see what your ideas are,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So
I
you got to
understand
come
that
with,
one.
yeah. So you got to come with like, okay, this and that, what have you. And then there's there's the stylist style, right?
It's good.
That got to take in consideration, right? So like, I don't necessarily dress women. Okay,
Okay.
so like people ask me like, oh, okay, well you style women and stuff. I was like, nah, I don't. Like, it's too much for me. It's
Hmm.
too much to wrap my mind around. But there's guys that do style women, and I mean, they do a great job at it.
Hmm.
So I got to take that into consideration. Or like if somebody's real goth, I gotta I
Yeah.
gotta go outside of my comfort zone to like figure out what that goth look is for them, what they want. You know,
That's yeah. Yeah.
and that might not be. And the same thing with like trends. Like you run up on a basketball player, or you run up on somebody who like they say, "Yo, man, I want something real fly. I want something real trendy." This, that, and the other, what have you. And they want the most ridiculous thing in the world. But you be like, man, my name goes on that. Like, I'm not about to put you in that foolishness or what have you. But like, be on some Russell Westbrook kind of madness. That they want the whole arm and chest out.
Yo, me and my brother
I
was
want
talking
my
about that
right.
earlier.
Yeah, I want my right pec. I want my right pec out. You know what I'm saying? I want to show my biceps. You know what I'm saying? You be like,
Yeah.
okay, like, all right, well, okay, let's
Call
figure
somebody
this
else.
out. Yeah, let's figure this out. Like nah, I can't do that, bro. Like that's not mine.
Yeah. Yeah. It,
And one of the things like I would say about me that I try to do, or try to keep in mind is, because like even in my own style of dress, right? We kind of like we might take some pictures of that kind of stuff and have it. You look back at them like 3, 4 years from now, and you be like, what in the hell was I thinking? What did I have on? You know what I'm
right.
saying? Um, so there's some stuff that's sort of standard, like is like it's still gonna be around, a couple of years, what have you, or it's not gonna be like that crazy, where you're gonna be like, oh man, like who convinced me to put that on? You know. And I have a client, what have you, and he told me one day, he said, yo, man, I look back at some of my pictures and I get nauseous. He said, because like I remember just kind of being like, ah, I don't know, but okay, I wear it, because they thought that the stylist knew best or what have you. So,
Yeah.
but again and again, like when you're dressing, for me, when you're dressing guys, it's sort of like you want to be able to look at those pictures and say, oh, that's a really classic look.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can take that color picture and turn it into a black and white picture, and this, would be my profile picture for a job interview or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I try to approach it from that perspective.
Yeah. So, question. Now, look, for y'all watching, what I mean, I was on the phone with Jack, and Jack was going in. So, he was going in. Jack chilling right now. He chilling.
Oh
But
man, I I don't want to. I don't want to offend nobody. I don't want to go crazy, nothing like that. What have
yeah,
you?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
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 you
you
know what I
good.
mean? Yeah. But like I said, bro, it's it's an interesting game though. And like I said, there's a difference between style and design and then costume. It
Right.
really
Oh,
is.
yeah, yeah. So, like, do you mind breaking that down, though?
Yeah, I'll break it down for you. Let's
You'd be
start with
great.
the C's, D's, and S, right?
Mhm.
So costuming, which is very, very, very different, right? Because usually for television or film, and you have a costume designer in most cases, like somebody who talks to who sits down with the director. They kind of work out like what this movie or what everything is going to be like, right? And then
Right.
in their mind, like what do the characters look like, right? So they come up with
Hmm.
these different ideas and looks, and then those looks get established, right? And what
Hmm.
do we mean by established? So like during those scenes, what have you, during the movie, if you look at a movie, right? If you go to a movie theater, the movie would last hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. I mean, now they're making these movies 2 hours long, 3 hours long, what have you, but they'd be like
It's
two
fact.
hours, right?
Yeah, 2 hours, definitely 2 hours.
Definitely 2 hours, right? But it takes anywhere from, depending on the budget, from 3 months to a year to make a movie,
Hmm.
right? So those same clothes that you're seeing in those scenes, you know, you're carrying them through, those 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 months,
Oh,
what have you,
wow.
right? And then if it's a progression, what happens is you might have, 4 or 5 or 6 in the same outfit, right? Because when the person starts, it's just sort of a normal day in the movie, right? So
Yeah.
this is what they've established as the characters look, right? But
Hmm.
then as they go through the movie, they're going to go through they may go to a dinner or what have you. So I have to know, and we have to put the outfit on for the dinner scene, right? But then we might turn back and he's then in that same outfit. We go back to that same day, what have you, right? And maybe there was a car chase and stuff got flipped over and he got blood on him. So now we gotta bloody those clothes up, right?
Hmm.
For the
Oh, wow.
scene and shoot that. And then they may come back several days later and shoot the same thing. So we got to put the blood and all the other stuff, what have you, back on the clothes and
Oh, my
back in the
God.
same places. so
Okay.
the continuity is the same,
Mm.
right?
That's
Or
crazy.
the collar was turned out, what have you. So like when you look at movies and or like bad, like poorly shot movies, what have you, you look and then, I think my wife was telling me that, like there was this thing about Ray J with the hat. He's like one scene the hat is here, one scene the hat is here, one scene the hat is here, what have you, because in continuity when they're shooting it, what have you, they're not putting the hat back in the same place. So you can
That's
go to the,
crazy.
so you got to work with you got to work with the director and the script person and the director of photography, what have you, to get and make sure that you have this consistency throughout the film. So as a
Yeah.
costumer, your job is to make sure that you have the right clothes for the right scenes, and that you're putting them on the actor, and that they're on the right way, and that you're like maintaining that continuity, what have you, for each one of those scenes throughout the movie. So it really has nothing to do with me in terms of like, or it does when it comes to him, because he trusts that I'm gonna make sure when I talk with the costume designer that
Mhm.
like it's something that he would approve. It ain't
Yeah.
something corny or like, because sometimes you get a costume designer or a director and they want to put some stuff on the actor. The actor like, man, I'm not feeling that,
Mm.
right? Like I'm just not feeling that. But y'all figure it out. So my job is to kind of like figure that out sometimes, right?
Now, as far as like costuming for an actor to say they're not feeling that, do they have that kind of like, I should say, are they
Power.
obligated to that? Because I'm pretty sure they
So,
probably didn't write the movie, or like shouldn't
well,
it come with the
well,
script?
well, they didn't. But again, like there's a certain way you want to show up. And when you're a
Okay.
young, when you're a young actor, what have you, and you don't necessarily have that kind of power, then you just kind of go with what everybody else or what they tell you to do, right? But
Mhm.
once you sort of establish yourself, you can have a say so in some of this stuff, what have you. You know what I'm saying? And again, it can boil down to things like I don't like plaid. I don't want to wear plaid, right? So then you got the costume uh, uh, designer or what have you. I have to come back with a different you know look
Mhm.
for that scene.
Okay.
But once you put those clothes on them and they shoot their scene and that's established, that's what they're going to wear throughout the movie. You can't just switch it,
Yeah.
right? You can't come back 3 months from now and be like, nah, man, I don't want to wear that.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, it's already been established. We have to wear that
Right.
because we've shot it.
Right.
There's money on this film, right? There's
Mhm.
money in them cameras that's already shot pictures of you looking like this. That means they're gonna
Yeah.
have to go back and shoot all that other stuff over again,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
People ain't got budgets for that kind of stuff, or
Yeah.
or tolerance for that kind of stuff. So so
You
costume is
out of here.
really, uh,
I said, "Oh, you out of here."
yeah, yeah, like they replaced it, but then, again, still you're burning money every time you do that.
Yeah.
So it's important that you get these different looks and stuff established, what have you. So and it makes you look at movies different,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
television
it
makes you
does.
look
It
at it different.
does. It
Yeah,
does. Now
because you
I'm gonna
look at
be
the
looking.
yeah you look at the
Well, I
outfits and you
think.
be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the first, see, knowing that, I'm gonna look at certain movies different. But
right,
now, probably watching Tubi, I'm gonna be like, dang, I'm gonna just blame you, cause
right,
now,
yeah. What? What's up?
Dang.
Y'all go through editing at all?
Right. That thing was, I just think the whole thing is just, all right, y'all got, like, y'all had to do this to make us laugh. Y'all had to.
But but like if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, like that's what Rotten Tomatoes does. It'll tell you like, yo, like the movie, like it'll break it down and be like, okay, well, the content was good, the actor was good, and they'll be like, but this scene, such and such like this, inconsistent, this, that, and the other, what have you. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll break it down for you and be like,
Right. Yeah,
losing
that's
ratings,
definitely.
bro.
All right, so look, I wanted to ask you, um, I'm gonna ask you this question. Uh, you know, you say you almost 60, so you've been in this game, just life, longer than a lot of people, well, longer than me, right? So when you're in an industry like this or any kind of industry, um, well, I want to ask you what kind of things that you experience that came to where race was an issue, and do you have an experience and how you handled it to kind of like stay professional?
Um, I mean, we're well, I'm always, you know, cognizant and conscious of racism, right? But it doesn't mean that I try to make it the center of my attention.
Okay.
Um, because, like there's different types of discrimination, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about of course, the obvious one, the black and white discrimination,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But then there's discrimination against size. There's discrimination against male, female. There's discrimination. I mean discrimination against sex. There's this discrimination against height.
Yeah.
You
It
know what I'm
is.
saying?
Yep.
And like all of those things like pass through your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it might not necessarily be that this person ain't feeling me because I'm black. They might just be not may not just be feeling me because I'm 6'5" and I'm standing over them.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they got that Napoleonic complex, and they just like, like I hate tall people.
You make me feel uncomfortable. Can you back up?
Yeah,
Say-
yeah. It can be that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Or it's and with our people, one of the things is like, and I want to say, I can honestly say, you can probably experience more racism within your own race than you do outside. I mean,
Mm.
it's more polarized when it's outside of your
Yeah.
race, but like, you experience racism just within your own culture, right?
Hmm.
Like maybe because I got a college education, and somebody else is like, yo, like, I hate them. You motherfuckers think, excuse my language, but they think that they think they're better than everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you went to like my wife just said something to me the other day, and so it's like, oh, I thought you Howard people all hung together, and it was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what
Yeah.
what is
No, I
what does that
understand.
really mean? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, like, when you ask me that question, I can get people that hate on me because I am styling Jamie Foxx, and they're not,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they think they can do a better job. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
like, I can tell you about those kind of incidences.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No
Yeah, yeah,
effects.
yeah. Like the obvious ones are, hey, and and with the world and the culture, what have you, like you built for that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Mhm.
an obvious one.
Yeah.
Like, and in those cases, you can't put your hands on them. In those cases, you just have to know, like, yo, I'm gonna stay out your way, and don't,
Man.
but don't bring that over here because, like, I'm not with that.
Right.
And like on set, you see that. You can see that within, like certain unions or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, okay, like this is a good old boy network over here.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
But
that's
I'm not.
facts.
But hey, like I got my people over there working. Ain't for me to say, what or who or what they doing. Just like I said, like you can feel that energy.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But you
yeah.
just be like, hey man, I'm gonna shut my mouth. I'm not saying nothing. But if it come my way, don't expect for me to like not say something.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Because I think sometimes that we you know what, it's that's real funny because I have a coworker and he was my coworker.
Stay
He's
on
like
here.
60 plus, and we have like great conversations about stuff, and like I love always talking to him because it's like it's a lot of things that he helps me with, and then there are things where I'll like because like he'll joke, be like, man, see your generation, and then I'll give him a concrete answer on why a particular thing is happening, and then he'll be quiet, like that, like, oh, I didn't know that, like I didn't know that, or I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do think it's always a just in the mindset, and I bring that story up because I was talking to him, and like we work at the same job, and I was like, well, why don't you say anything about it? You've been here longer than me. I've been here a few months. You've been here 3 years. Why don't you say anything about it? And he was just like, you know what? Like basically like, yo, maybe I will. But then like something I noticed about people like older than me, like in the generations older than me, um, and this is not everybody in that generation, but I do think it's popular for um a lot of people to like, well, I'm not gonna say anything because I'm concerned about job security. Like I'm not gonna say anything about this because if I say even something that won't even like get me fired, I have a fear that I'm gonna lose my job. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think I think it's a valid reason. Like everybody has their own situation,
Hmm.
right? Um, and of course we need money to survive, and you don't know who the breadwinner is or what contributions they make to their own households and stuff, what have you. So, sometimes you're not in a position to, you know, buck against a system or buck against um, a corporation, what have you, that might, certainly impact your ability to provide for your family, what have you.
Yeah.
So there is hesitation there. And a lot of times, particularly if you don't have kids or you don't have those responsibilities, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a home, you don't have, tuitions, you don't have all those things that you have to take care of, it's easy to say, hey, yeah, speak up and say this and say that and this, that, and the other, what have you. But when you have those other responsibilities and you're obligated to those responsibilities, then like it's not that easy to just, you know, be in there being rogue and, especially for, a system or a corporation that's been, sort of like operating at a high level or whatever level they are because they're
Hmm.
providing an income for you, for years and years and years. And that's not to say that there isn't there isn't change that needs to happen, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it's sort of like sometimes you just gotta pick and choose your battles, or you
Yeah.
gotta prepare yourself for. And I've been in those situations where you buck against the system, what have you, and it does cost you your job. So I'm not. I can speak from both sides of it.
Hmm.
I'm not saying and had obligations, and was talking crazy to, what have you. So
Did you regret any of that? Like the ones that you know, like the ones that did cost you your job. Like, did you regret it, or you was just like,
No,
no,
I
I think
don't. I don't regret it because you know, um, eventually, things kind of came out, and
okay.
and maybe I didn't seem as rogue and as maybe in opposition as people thought. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
sometimes you can have a spirit about something or somebody, what have you. And at the time when it's going on, everybody will look at you and be like, "Man, you tripping," what have you,
Hmm.
right? But then, years down the road, stuff comes out, and it's like, "Oh, did you hear this? Did you hear that?" And be like, "You know what? Such and such has said that years ago.
Yup. Yup.
He said that
Yeah.
years ago, and
Hmm.
everybody said that he was crazy at the time he was saying it."
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, a lot of times that's living in your truth and being like, "Hey, man, like I don't care what people say or think, what have you. Like this dude or this person or this thing or whatever it is like something just ain't right about it."
Hmm. Yeah.
I always
Yeah. That.
always said, yeah, always said I don't always necessarily have to know exactly what is wrong.
Hmm.
In other words, I don't have to like have a reason for knowing sometimes when something is wrong. I just know it's wrong.
Right. Right.
My spirit tells
No.
me it's wrong.
Yeah.
Everything about it just tells you it's wrong.
Absolutely. And you gotta make a decision.
You gotta
You
make a
know.
decision. Yeah.
You know. That's yeah. So look. So like, you have this clothing brand called Who is Jack Manson?
It's really
Um.
Jack Manson. Like, like somebody
Oh.
hacked me, and somebody hacked me, and they took that, and again, you know, these people try to hold you hostage, and they want you to pay money to get your all of it. And I just told them, man, hey, man, keep it, do whatever y'all need to do. And, but like, I'm not about to pay y'all no money to get my domains or whatever it is. I'm not doing that.
Right. Yeah. All right. So Jack Manson. So like, what's the story behind that? Like, when did you start?
Oh,
Like what motivated
yeah.
you to start your own thing?
Uh, well, like I said, I've always loved clothes, and then I had a t-shirt brand that was a really nice brand back in 2005, 2006, that was
Hmm.
doing really, really well. Then the economy went bust. And again, like I said, I came out here to California, started working with Jamie, was styling him. And he sort of like made a suggestion, was like, "Hey man, why don't you start a clothing brand?" I was like, "Nah, nah, nah." And then he was sort of surprised me with like, "I already know you had a clothing brand, so why don't you start one?" So um, that kind of got my juices flowing, and I just kind of like wanted to, start the clothing brand. Um, but then, like again, people are like, "Oh, well, what's your demographics? What's this, that, and the other? Like, you know, what are you gonna sell, so forth." So, um, I just started coming up with different themes. Like the brand is the brand, right? But like even when you go shopping at Louis Vuitton, you go to Dolce and Gabbana, you go to Dior, like each season they have different themes,
Hmm.
right? But for some reason or another, here on IG and all these other like branding, lower, with smaller brands and stuff, they're always talking about specify this, that, and the other, what have you. And I kind of feel like, but y'all be in Louis Vuitton and all other places, and these same places is like doing themes every season.
Right.
So why do I have to stick to like
Yeah.
like this one thing that, what I'm saying? Like, why
Like
do
who
I have to
made
do
that
that?
up?
Like who made that up,
Yeah.
right? Because other brands don't do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, like like it's definitely a dope brand.
Thank you.
Like I like everything. And you had just released some it's More Love.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
more love. Um, the the world is in a state of it's vexed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the whole world is vexed right now with, the wars, between countries and cultures and religions, mass shootings, all kinds of stuff, what have you. I just felt like, I needed to try to do something that, perpetuates and inspires people to, you know, have more understanding, more care, more empathy, uh, more um, compassion for one another,
Mm-hmm.
as human beings.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of the whole idea and concept um, behind more love. You
Okay.
know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to like demonstrate or try and inspire people to be more of that.
Yeah. And look. Like I think it's dope. I'm definitely caught me some stuff. Um. But yeah, like Mr. Jack, look. I know that you got to get to a situation. So look, I don't want to
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
you more.
Thank you,
But
thank you, thank you.
like, do you have any last words? For the
Um,
people.
Man, at the end of the day, go after your passions.
Mm-hmm.
It may not necessarily be the thing that puts bread and butter on your table. And don't go after your passions with that in mind, right? Go after it because it's just a true desire to do something that God put within you.
Amen.
And if it does turn into a situation where it does put bread on the table, then great. Um,
Yeah.
and it took me a long time to come to that.
Mm-hmm.
But to just really, do and go after the things that God's putting you to do. If it's sewing, you wanted to be a tailor or what have you. You want to play an instrument, um, and you feel like, I'm too old to do that, or I don't know if you know it's too late for me to do that, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say get rid of that thought. You know what I'm saying, and then just go after it and fulfill those those passions and desires.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. But look, thank you so much for hopping on with me. I really do appreciate it. Definitely had a good time.
Thank you,
Um,
man.
and yes, yes. So y'all, this is Mr. Jack Manson. Came and dropped some good knowledge on us, some good gems. I really appreciate you coming on the platform.
Oh man,
Please tell
thank
your
you
wife I
again.
said hello.
I will.
And
I will. She's over here. She's getting us over here to this thing, and I want to thank her for
right,
her
right.
patience.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely be in touch. And
Okay.
well, thank you so much. And
All right. Thank you again, Jeremiah.
no problem, no problem. All right, you guys have a blessed night.
All right. You too, man. Take care. Peace.
You too.